Hey everyone, on today's Tip Tuesday, we're going to be talking about the importance of brakes and the difference between assisted brakes and manual brakes, and why we prefer to have manual brakes on a drift car and most race cars. Okay, so to start, let's go over how assisted brakes work. Most vehicles, probably 99% of them, use a booster. A booster is a vacuum assisted braking system. Usually the vacuum is provided by the engine, or on like diesels, it's going to be provided by a vacuum pump. Some guys even run vacuum pumps to keep using these, and I'll tell you why they might do that just in 1 second. Breaking it down, this large spring was part of the assembly, but Kyle beat it to a pulp and opened it up for us so that we could take a look at it.
All right, what's going on, guys? In today's video, we're gonna chop open a brake booster. Oh, you got our sandblast.
Yes, sir.
What do we have here? A spring, a little tub inside. We have, so this is towards the engine. Oh, that's weird. It's like an alien.
We're gonna cue Josiah in here of talking about this whole setup. Dude,
Did I almost get your camera?
that went so high.
That was pretty sick.
That was
I kind of expected
What
that.
was that?
So this, so that was this, and it was holding that. And it was
It's like a
in there.
wastegate spring.
Yeah, literally. It was held in by this clip, and this are doing things.
This end of it may look familiar to you guys. This is where the master cylinder would have been. And then this is bolted to the firewall, which receives an input from your braking pedal here. Brake pedal goes here, master cylinder is here, and this is essentially a diaphragm. It's a vacuum diaphragm. Our vacuum input line is here, and what this does is the energy or the vacuum from the engine enters into this chamber, but this chamber does not allow any assistance to the braking system until you apply a force from the brake pedal. That's where this little thing comes into play. This slides into here, and the brake pedal pushes force on this assembly. This assembly activates a valve which opens up the backside of the diaphragm and allows the vacuum to draw this diaphragm into the master cylinder, which assists you with braking. So the way that this works is it uses vacuum pressure to assist the brakes, and it provides quite a bit of force. If you were to put a vacuum pump on this much surface area, you could probably lift hundreds of pounds because of the surface area that this provides. So it is essentially providing hundreds of pounds of braking assistance. And as you push the brakes harder, the valve in the backside opens up and fully allows the assistance to occur, meaning the braking pressure required to fully stop a car isn't nearly as much as it would be if you didn't have this system. Now, where this comes into play on a drift car is on our 350Z or BMW and my stock Corvette that I drive on the street, we have a brake booster still on the car. And what I've noticed is under full throttle and applying brakes, that assist only lasts for a couple of seconds. So once the throttle plate that was closed, the pistons inside the engine create vacuum because they're drawing in your idle air control valve. That's where your IAC controls the amount of air that's allowed into the engine so that you can control the RPM at idle. Because you're drawing so much air through the little idle air control valve, all the other vacuum lines also have negative pressure, and that includes the brake booster. So whenever the throttle plate's closed, you're gonna have great assistance. And because on a road car, whenever we need to stop, we usually take our gas foot off the gas pedal, which closes the throttle body, and on the brakes. So whenever we're applying brakes on a normal car, we always are going to have braking assistance. But on a drift car or on a road race car, we are oftentimes using both. So with the throttle plate open, it's basically like a huge vacuum leak, and we no longer have vacuum assistance on our brakes. So whenever you need to apply your brakes while on throttle, you have to push the pedal way harder. It's not ideal, and it's very inconsistent, because if you then lift off the throttle, do something else with your feet, maybe you're hand braking and then you're back on throttle, you'll have full assistance again for the first couple of brake jabs, and then it'll be gone again. So it's very inconsistent. If you're used to it, you're probably just used to it. It doesn't mean that it's good, it just means you've learned how to drive around it. But there is a fix for racing and drifting, and it is a manual braking system. The important thing to note on a manual braking system is that you need to increase the mechanical advantage somehow, because a pedal ratio on a brake assisted car is usually between 3 to 1 or 4 to 1, which is not enough for a manual braking system. A manual braking system needs to be somewhere like 5 to 7 to 1, because you need that mechanical advantage to apply enough pressure to stop the car. That is what this fulcrum is. And we've actually sold so many of these brake booster delete kits, but I didn't have any left, so I'm using the 3D printed one while we're machining the other ones. So what this lever does is it improves or increases the ratio. We are going from 3.7 and increasing it to 5.7 using this lever or fulcrum arm or whatever you want to call it. And this is where the arm pivots. This is where we apply force using the new shaft that bolts here. So it applies force onto the bearing, which controls 2 master cylinders. And that is our mechanical advantage right there. We're gonna require more throw of the pedal to have a higher force, but it's really negligible, especially in a drift car. And you can just size the calipers accordingly so that you're not pushing the pedal all the way to the firewall just to hit the brakes. And you can change the size of the master cylinders as well. So we have the recommended sizes for your masters to make this setup work really well. Let's get into how this side of the manual brakes works and why it works so well with drifting and racing. This is the bias bar. This is basically the bar that distributes the load, and you can use this bar to allow for more pressure mechanically on the front calipers versus the rear calipers. So this is a method of mechanically biasing your car. And the way that that works is this bearing sits inside of this bore, and you can see the width of this bore allows for this bearing to move quite a bit left to right. So let's say that my master cylinder was here on the left. If I wanted to provide more braking pressure to the front master cylinder, I would adjust this all the way over to the left side, mechanically applying more force on the front master cylinder because the bearing is closer to that master cylinder, giving me more leverage and more pressure on that master, and then reducing the pressure on the rear brakes. You could see that in action when you push the brakes. It'll initially push the front master first, and you'll actually see this bar pivot on an angle and apply pressure in this manner. There is a limit to how much you can bias mechanically, because if you biased it simply too much, the force applied, it would basically overexert this rod. You would just try pushing the master with this rod fully kicked like that, and you'd probably put dents and stuff in these, and it would wear out components faster. So you can't really mechanically bias more than, I think it's somewhere around 65 to 70% from front to rear mechanically. Then you can include an inline proportioning valve, and that can further bias the front to rear if you still have an issue. These, I'm just gonna assemble this for you guys so that you can see how it actually works.
Yeah, I'm gonna run away. You guys have a great day. Bam. Good luck in Finland.
Thanks, dude. Catch you on the flip side. We're gonna assemble this. Gotta put the bearing in square first. Okay, that goes on like that. Good at stuff like that for some reason. Remember the Heim joint challenge? Just a fiend, oh, wrong one. We had a Christmas party and we had to assemble a Heim joint with a jam nut, and it was timed. Troy was timing it. Everyone went, there was 17 of us there or something. The times were probably like 8 to 10 seconds-ish. I guess I had done a lot of Heim joints in the past. I didn't really think anything of it, but when I sat down, I did it in like 3.5, 4 seconds, just randomly. People would blink and then it was done, and they'd be like, no, like you cheated somehow. They didn't even see how I did it. So then anyways, everyone went on. The fastest time might've been 7.5 seconds. And I had it at like 3.5. They said, no, there's no way you did it that fast. And then I did it again in the same time. I don't even know why I can do it so fast, but anyways, I'm good at threading Heim joints, I guess. These are locking nuts, so they go on either end. This is one set screw. A lot of people think it comes with two. You only need one because you're locking the shaft in place once you've got everything set. And then that's a jam nut for the set screw. And then you can get kits where it's a cable that goes onto the end of this where you can actually turn a knob and you can adjust your bias from in the car. You're not allowed to use that in some competitions, but you can buy that and you can adjust your bias from inside the car, which is pretty cool. As you can see, you basically assemble this so that it's relatively snug against the side of the housing, and I'm able to thread this, and you can see that I'm very far biased to this side, to my right. So this is mechanically biased to the right, and if I was to thread this adjuster inward, you can turn this, and as you turn this, it's going to move the bearing over while keeping these in place. So when you think of this assembly installed here, it's going to allow us to apply pressure on these two master cylinders by moving the bearing more to the left or more to the right. It's going to pivot from this fulcrum point, and then we're going to receive the input from the brake here, and that's how this system works. And that's how I am able to mechanically bias my car. I put it almost fully to the front, plus I have a proportioning valve inside the car to further limit the rear brakes, and that's how I'm able to get great brake control over the drift car. And if you push it hard enough, like I was saying, this bearing has articulation, and you can see that it can only move so far. So you can only ever do this much pressure towards the driver's master before you actually hit bind, and then you just start applying the same amount of force on both. It's really only going to do it for the first half an inch to an inch of throw, which is usually enough to apply a lot of force to a brake caliper. Basically, that is the system that we have developed, and this kit, just changing this front plate, we could actually put this on basically any car. We just need the firewall bolt pattern and then the type of linkage required to go and connect to this piece. But it would probably just be an iteration of this. The length of this is specific to the Corvette. The whole diameter fits the stock Corvette pin, and the width of this is the same as the width of the factory one. So we would just make a bunch of these and then a bunch of different plates, and over time we're probably going to have these available for multiple different cars. But that's basically it. Hope you guys learned something. When you consider using manual brakes on a car, you're just going to have the exact same brake pressure at idle throughout your RPM at any given speed, and the same amount of brake pressure is going to do the same amount of work. And the same could be said if you decide to run a vacuum pump on your booster system. But personally, I find these are too sensitive for racing, and I just size my calipers and masters to allow for a good feel that's nice and rigid, but also I can lock up all fours if I need to. The harder pressure you need to apply, the more accurate you can be on your chases and on your inputs. So if someone has a really hard time being really twitchy in chase and their car's constantly wavering and they're making mistakes in inputs, one of your issues might be that you have assisted brakes and it's simply giving you way too much brake, whereas on this I can apply 30%, 40%, 50%, and it's not going to be super dramatic. It's not going to be all at once like a booster is. So maybe this is something that you need to improve your driving if it's something that you notice. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. I'm off to Finland. The next video is probably going to be about drift masters or something to do with the shop. Have a nice day.